Hi, JustProfessor here. The same exact choice can make you say yes or no depending on how someone words it. Doctors use this trick, salespeople use this trick, politicians use this trick, and you fall for it every single time without even noticing. Imagine a doctor tells you that you need surgery. They say, this surgery has a 90% survival rate. That sounds pretty good, right? You'd probably feel okay about doing it. Now imagine the same doctor says, this surgery has a 10% death rate. Suddenly it feels way scarier. But here's the thing. These two statements mean the exact same thing. 90% survival is the same as 10% death. The math is identical. But your brain doesn't care about the math. Your brain cares about how the information feels, and that's the framing effect in action. The framing effect is one of the sneakiest ways your brain gets manipulated. It means that the way information is presented changes how you react to it, even when the actual facts stay the same. Two people can describe the exact same situation using different words, and you'll make completely different decisions based on nothing but the wording. This isn't about lying or giving you false information. Nobody is changing the facts. They're just changing the frame around those facts. It's like putting the same picture in two different picture frames. The picture doesn't change, but somehow it looks different depending on the frame around it. And this happens to you constantly. Every single day, people are framing information in ways that push you towards certain choices. Sometimes they're doing it on purpose because they want something from you. Sometimes they're doing it accidentally because their own biases affect how they talk. Either way, you're being influenced by frames without realizing it. Let me give you some examples that'll make this crystal clear. Researchers did a famous study where they asked people about a disease outbreak. They told one group that a disease would kill 600 people, and there were two treatment options. Treatment A would save 200 people for sure. Treatment B had a 1/3 chance of saving everyone and a 2/3 chance of saving no one. When they framed it this way, most people chose treatment A. They wanted the guaranteed option where people would definitely be saved. Then they asked a different group the same question, but they framed it differently. They said treatment A would result in 400 people dying for sure. Treatment B had a 1/3 chance that nobody would die and a 2/3 chance that everyone would die. With this framing, most people chose treatment B. They didn't want the option where people would definitely die. But look at what just happened. These are the same two options. If 600 people are at risk and you save 200 for sure, that means 400 die for sure. It's the same outcome, but when it's framed as saving 200 people, it sounds good. When it's framed as 400 people dying, it sounds terrible. The frame changed people's choices even though the actual situation was identical. This shows up everywhere in real life. Think about food labels. Ground beef might be labeled as 80% lean or 20% fat. Same meat, same fat content. But 80% lean sounds way better than 20% fat. One frame makes you think about the good part. The other frame makes you think about the bad part. And which frame you see affects whether you buy it. Or think about job listings. A company might say, we offer flexible work arrangements. Or they might say, you'll be working irregular hours. Flexible sounds positive and appealing. Irregular sounds negative and unstable. But they might be describing the exact same job. The frame changes how attractive the job seems. Salespeople are masters of framing. They know exactly how to present information to make you more likely to buy. They don't say, this will cost you $2,000. They say, for just $5 a day, you can own this. $5 a day sounds like nothing. $2,000 sounds like a lot. But over a year, $5 a day is actually more than $2,000. The frame makes it seem cheaper. Or they use loss framing instead of gain framing. Instead of saying, buy this product and save money, they say, you're losing money every day you don't have this product. Loss framing is more powerful because humans hate losing things more than they like gaining things. If you frame something as preventing a loss instead of creating a gain, People react more strongly. Politicians use framing constantly. They don't talk about raising taxes. They talk about asking the wealthy to pay their fair share. They don't talk about cutting government programs. They talk about reducing wasteful spending. They don't talk about restricting access to something. They talk about protecting people from something dangerous. The policy might be exactly the same, but the frame completely changes how people feel about it. Think about how news gets reported. Two news channels can cover the exact same event and make it sound completely different just by choosing different words. One channel talks about protesters. Another channel talks about rioters. One channel talks about freedom fighters. Another channel talks about militants. Same people, same actions, different frames, and those frames shape what you think is happening. Even simple word choices create frames. Climate change sounds gradual and not that scary. Climate crisis sounds urgent and dangerous. Undocumented immigrants sounds neutral. Illegal aliens sounds threatening. Pro-choice sounds like freedom. Pro-abortion sounds negative. Pro-life sounds positive. Anti-choice sounds controlling. Every side of every debate tries to control the frame because they know it matters more than the actual arguments. Here's what makes the framing effect so powerful. You can know about it and still fall for it. You can understand that two descriptions mean the same thing, but your emotional reaction will still be different. Your logical brain might recognize that 90% survival equals 10% death, but your gut feeling about those two statements is completely different. And a lot of decisions get made by gut feeling, not by careful logical analysis. Framing works on your automatic thinking, not your careful thinking. Your brain has two modes. One mode is fast and automatic and emotional. The other mode is slow and careful and logical. Most of the time you're running on the fast automatic mode because it takes less energy. And the fast mode is super vulnerable to framing. It reacts to how things sound and feel, not to the underlying math or logic. The other tricky thing about framing is that there's no such thing as a neutral frame. Every single way of describing something is a frame. You can't present information without framing it somehow. Even trying to be objective and neutral is still a frame. It's the objective-neutral frame. So you're always being influenced by frames. There's no way to avoid it completely. So what do you do about this? How do you make good decisions when everything is framed in ways that manipulate your thinking? First, train yourself to actively reframe information. When someone presents you with a choice or tries to persuade you of something, stop and think about how else that same information could be described. If someone tells you a product is 80% effective, flip it around. That means it's 20% ineffective. If someone tells you an investment has high potential returns, ask what the risk of loss is. If someone frames something as what you'll gain, think about what you might lose. If they frame it as what you'll avoid losing, think about what you're not gaining. This doesn't mean you should always be negative or suspicious. It just means you should look at information from multiple angles instead of accepting the first frame you're given. Get in the habit of asking, what's another way to say this exact same thing? That simple question can reveal a lot. Second, watch out for extreme framing. When someone uses really emotional language or frames things in very dramatic terms, that's a red flag. They're probably trying hard to manipulate your feelings instead of presenting information fairly. This will destroy your life, and this will solve all your problems, are both extreme frames that should make you skeptical. Third, look for the actual numbers and facts underneath the frame. Don't just accept vague positive or negative language. If someone says something is highly effective or rarely causes problems, ask for the actual statistics. What does highly effective mean? 90%? 50%? What does rarely mean? 1%? 10%? Getting concrete numbers makes it harder for frames to manipulate you. Fourth, notice your emotional reactions and question them. If something makes you feel really good or really bad, Ask yourself if that feeling is coming from the actual facts or just from how those facts were presented. Strong emotional reactions are often a sign that framing is working on you. Fifth, be aware that you do this too. You frame things all the time without thinking about it. When you're trying to convince someone of something, you automatically choose words that support your position. That's normal, but being aware of it helps you communicate more honestly and also helps you recognize when others are doing it to you. The framing effect is everywhere. It's in advertising, news, politics, conversations, job offers, medical information, financial advice, and basically every form of communication that exists. People frame information to support their goals, and your brain reacts to those frames automatically. You can't eliminate framing from your life. You can't make yourself immune to it, but you can become more aware of it. You can learn to spot when framing is happening. You can practice reframing information to see it from different angles. And you can make decisions based on facts and logic instead of just emotional reactions to carefully chosen words. The next time someone tries to sell you something, convince you of something, or get you to make a choice, pay attention to their words. Notice what they emphasize and what they downplay. Notice whether they frame things as gains or losses. Notice whether they use positive or negative language. Notice what frame they're putting around the facts, and then create your own frame. Look at the same information from a different angle. Get the full picture instead of just the picture they want you to see. That's how you take back control of your decisions. That's how you stop letting words control your choices without you knowing. Check out the next video where I show you another bias that's controlling your brain right now.